Once again, we're rolling toward 10:30 and the news continues from WKYT. We told you last night a bill to add restrictions to drag shows appears to be dead in the state legislature for now. Senate Bill 115 does not have enough readings in the House to legally pass this session. However, one lawmaker is trying to find a way to bring it back. WKYT's Grayson Passmore talked with members of the LGBTQ community about the bill's fate.
Love wins. It always will win, and we confidently believe that.
The grassroots movement, Let's Have Pride, was born in less than 72 hours.
There was a need to bring people together and unite against this horrifying legislation that impacts not only our community, but specifically our trans community and drag artists that perform all over our state.
Co-organizer and local drag performer Glenn Means says the movement has shown just how many people advocate against Senate Bill 115, the bill that would ban public drag performances. The bill from Republican Senator Lindsey Titchener passed the Senate, but now does not have the necessary number of readings in the House to get full passage before the veto break. But as many believe the bill to be dead, on Wednesday, Republican Representative Josh Callaway adds an amendment to Senate Bill 5, or the Parental Rights Bill, that mirrors Senate Bill 115.
We know that this is not going to be the last fight that we're going to have to fight.
Supporters of Senate Bill 5 say it gives parents more rights to keep obscene materials out of schools. Opponents say it's a way to ban books that deal with the LGBTQ+ community. If this amendment is adopted by a majority of the House and is passed, the Senate would need to concur with the changes for it to gain full passage.
Just got to the point where we had so many people reaching out to us saying we have to say something, we have to do something about all this stuff that's happening. So I think at some point we said if we have to live up to who we are as a city, we do have to say something.
Vice Mayor Dan Wu says sending state legislators a letter showing council members' support for the LGBTQ+ community is just the start.
Anytime we can come out and really speak our voices, I think it will be heard in one way or another.
In Lexington, Grayson Passmore, WKYT.
And like the original bill, the amendment would prohibit drag performances from taking place in public spaces or on private property where a child is present. It also says that a first offense would be a Class C misdemeanor, a second offense would be a Class A misdemeanor, and subsequent offenses would be Class D felonies.